Hello, everyone. There will be energy that lasts no matter how you look at it. It makes sense that Tesla T would happen, even if it never did. You will run out of non sustainable energy if you don't have any sustainable energy. The market will push people to move toward clean energy, so that's what will happen. If it helps make clean energy faster than the company wants, it's only worth what the company thinks it's worth. Elon Musk sent out a rock and had a non-GAAP net income of more than $1 billion for the first time. Now people feel very different about electric cars and want them more than ever. Plum program, which is the new version of Model 6, which has a revised interior, and a new battery pack, and new drive units, and new internal electronics, and has, for example, a PlayStation 5 level infotainment system. There are just a lot of issues encountered ensuring that the new factory look super safe, was quite hard weighing more energy space. Took quite a bit of development to ensure that the battery of the new SX is safe, and we're trying to get all in the cars slowly for the past few months, where we're just stacking them up in the yard, and just making refinements to the cars that we built. But we do expect to ramp Model S production and start delivering them probably next month, and we've seen a real shift in customer perception of electric vehicles. And our demand is the best we've ever seen. What Tesla achieved on the automotive side was not to create an electric car. To the truly profound thing on the car site is that Tesla was the first American car company to achieve volume production of a car in 100 years and not go bankrupt. It was so hard to no idea anyway. And the thing about making a large, complex manufactured object is, let's say you have to approximation 10,000 unique items. If even one of those items is slow, that says your rate just one, doesn't matter how so trivial. We've had production stuff because of carpet in the trunk. We had production stew because of USB cable at one point for model. We literally raided every electronics store in the Bay Area for a few days. Nobody could buy a USB cable in the area because we went and bought them all to put them in the car literally. And there's like hundreds of stories like that. In order to solve it, we basically need to solve a pretty significant part of artificial intelligence, of specifically real-world artificial intelligence. And that's that sort of AI neural nets needs to be compressed into a fairly small computer, a very efficient computer that we designed, but nonetheless, a small computer that's using on the order of 70 or 80 watts. So this is, I think, a much harder problem than if you were 10,000 computers in a server room or something like that. This has got to fit into a smallest brain. And this, I think, with the elimination of radar, we were finally getting rid of one of the last crushes, is we are actually solving something quite fundamental about AAL intelligence, where we basically have to solve real-world vision AI, and we are so key to solving this is also having just a massive data set, having all over 1 million cars on the road, that are collecting data from very sort of corner case, rare situations, sort of like so many weird things in the world, like a truck carrying a truck up, or a car with it in real life. This would look like a car with a kayak on top of it, with weight hanging off the front of the kayak in front of the car. It's important for the car to only look at the road and not this. It's going to be hard, but I think we can do it. Long-term energy will happen no matter what. There had to be a Tesla T, but it had to happen anyway. It makes sense. If you don't have any sustainable energy, you won't be able to use any non-sustainable energy. Since the market is bad, people will move toward clean energy. A company like Tesla is making clean energy come out faster. The most important thing about them is that I think that the future is a stream of chances that could go in many different ways. You can change these odds and make things go faster or slower. Everything about the sun changes when you add something new to the choices. The solar plus battery is the only thing that can be used with solar power. This is how the house has to be set up before it can be sold. There may not be a power wall in the solar power that was added. It could be solar update, which means that regular panels were put on the roof, or it could be the Tesla solar glass roof. You could say this is power wall to plus, since it will have the W power either way. It depends on how you count power, but the plus sign means a higher peak power capability. Basically, power DOS made before November of last year had a lot less peak power capability than what is listed on the website. They have about twice as much power capability, or twice as much peak power, and twice as steady state power. The energy is the same, but the power is about twice as much as in older installations. This is because power from the solar roof, glass roof, or solar panels will only ever go directly into the power wall. And the power wall will only ever go between the utility and the main power panel of the house. This means that you never have to touch the main circuit breakers of the house. And instead of each house looking like a work of art that requires special skills to rewire, this is the only way to do it, but the mega pack needs some extra work to make good margins. What do you believe we have? We have a clear runway for improving the cost per megawatt hour of the MEAP pack. Yeah, first of all, I should say the demand for the solar roof remains strong. So despite raising the price, the demand is so significantly in excess of our ability to meet the demand to install the solar roofs, so production is going fine, but we are choked at the installation point. We did find that we basically made some significant mistakes in assessing the difficulty of certain roofs. But the complexity of roofs varies dramatically. Some roofs are to be literally 2 or 3 times easier than other roof, so you just can't have a one-size situation. So if the grid needs more power, we can then, with the consent obviously of the homeowner and in partnership with the utility, we can then actually release power onto the grid to take care of peak power demand. Will be its own utility, and so even if all the lights go out in the neighborhood, you will still have power. So that gives people energy security, and we can also, in working with the utilities, use the power walls to stabilize the overall grids. So let's say that there's like if there was in Texas, there was a peak power demand and that peak power demand. And because the grid lacked the ability to buffer the power, they have to shut down power. There's no power storage, no good point power storage. However, with a whole bunch of power walls at houses, we can actually buffer the power. So if the grid needs more power, we can actually then, with the consent obviously of the homeowner and in partnership with the utility, we can then actually release power onto the grid to take care of peak power demand. We are making a very significant change to the chemical constituency of the atmosphere and the oceans, and one that is almost impossible to reverse. It's hard to think about what you'll say to your kids or grandkids in 20, 30, or 40 years. Why can you do anything? We want to be able to say that we did the right thing when we look back on these days. Solar power is strong enough to power all of China. Loud cheers. Rooftop sunlight won't be enough to power big cities with lots of people. You could also use solar cells that are hidden in the ground. For example, put up solar power near Hong Kong and connect it to the power lines that are already there. We don't have to go very far to bring solar power to Hong Kong. We just have to touch down on land. Remember that China is a very big country all the time. Since most people live near the coast, many parts of it aren't even fit for people to live in. Surprisingly few people live in some places. The sun gives Earth most of its power. Before you go any further, you should know this. To put it another way, the sun is the only thing that keeps us from being 3 degrees above absolute zero, which is the temperature of radiation in space. We'd be like an ice bowl without the sun, cold and dark. More than 99% of the energy that hits it goes back to us.